So I eat a high carb vegan diet, and people are afraid of carbs. And sometimes it's a little bit mind boggling to believe how people can be so fearful of carbs. I'll see a post on Facebook that's like a picture of pizza, obviously bread, sauce, cheese, and they're like, oh, the carbs are gonna make me fat. You really think that it's the bread on that piece of pizza that's making you fat? No, no way, it's the cheese. It's all that fat that's making you fat. I mean, obviously, that's why they call it that. Anyway, I do have a good explanation for why people are so fearful of carbs because low carbohydrate diets do help you lose weight. Maybe not all the time, but a low carbohydrate diet helped me lose weight. I will tell you a little bit about it. I was very interested in going raw, and I didn't really know too much about nutrition. I just knew that the raw food diet sounded really good to me. You know, the like living enzymes and natural nutrition, all of that stuff, really good. I wasn't even vegan at this time. While I was eating 100% raw, but I was still eating cheese. I was still eating raw dairy, which is really silly, but it's very high in fat. I even remember one particular meal that I was having. It was like a baby spinach salad with tomatoes, like a whole lot of tomatoes and cucumbers and olives, and it was just drenched in olive oil. It was absolutely drenched in olive oil. And if you put in one of your meals into the like chronometer or something that will tell you your macros, what percentage of where the calories were coming from, I was eating a very low carbohydrate diet, high in protein, but extremely high in fat, which most of the time when you are cutting your carbs, you can build up on just high protein, but that's very, very difficult. What's easiest, what's the most easy to replace the carbohydrates with is fat. So that's what I did. I was eating a very high fat diet. I would put huge scoops of coconut oil into my smoothies along with like nut butter and nuts and seeds and just all these other superfoods and things because I thought that's what I needed. And I was losing a lot of weight and I looked really good. I'd probably say at least 50% or more of my calories were coming from fat. Probably 60 to 70% of my calories were coming from fat. On some days, maybe even more when I was eating like raw cakes and like a raw nut pate. And then later on, I'd have a raw cheesecake, which is all nuts. I'm sure those days were a lot worse. So I was eating really, really high fat in those days, and I started to lose a lot of weight. And I thought I looked really, really good. And I was very happy with these results. And one day, my boyfriend tells me that I lost too much weight. And at that point, I didn't really believe him. I thought, I'm like, psh, I'm just looking really good. You're just not used to this. I'm very happy with myself. Weeks went by, or a week or so went by. In all, I was on this 100% raw, extremely high fat, low carbohydrate diet for 10 weeks. And it was probably the last 2 or 3 weeks, probably the last 2 weeks of the diet that I started to look sickly. Like a cancer patient or something. It was really bad. I lost too much weight. It was clear to anybody that saw me that this wasn't a good amount of weight to be lost. I wasn't attractive looking, and I got very pale. The bags under my eyes got even worse. I was very like when you're hungry and haven't been eating a lot, you could be very irritable. But I wasn't very irritable. I was just more numb because of how much food I was eating. A lot of calories. I was eating at least 3,000 calories a day because I was very concerned with not eating enough. I'm like, look at me, I'm losing all this weight, I need to eat more food. So what did I start doing? I added more fat to my diet, more oil, more nuts, more seeds, because in my head, well, that's what, if they call fat because it'll help you gain weight, it'll help make you fat. So I was eating at this point probably 80% of my calories from fat. And I started losing weight even more rapidly. And it was really scary. And I started eating cooked food again, and that I remember the night I started eating cooked food, it was a bunch of rice and beans and maybe like a little bit of avocado, rice, beans, salsa, and tortillas and lettuce. That's a high carb meal, and I felt so good after eating it. And at first I was like, oh, it's this raw diet. The raw diet failed me. And even though raw diets are very extreme, and I'm not trying to push that onto anybody, and it probably was too big of a step for me to take at that point, it wasn't the fact that it was an all raw diet that was doing me in like that. It was the low carbohydrate, high fat aspect of it. And as I did more research later, and have learned more about nutrition and have experimented on myself, I've realized that I lost so much weight and that people lose so much weight on these low carb diets because quite simply they're malnourished. And your body can't hold any nutrients, it can't hold any fat. It's in a state of shock. It's definitely not something that's healthy. And I can make a video later on that's about the more scientific aspects of what actually happens when you're eating a low carbohydrate diet. But it does work. And that's why people are so fearful of carbs, and that's why people are so into these Atkins style diets, because it does work. It helps you lose a lot of weight, but do you care why you're losing the weight? I mean, you should. You're losing the weight because of how unhealthy you are, not because your body's regulating itself and your weight is balancing and being established. No, 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 no. Your body is freaking out. It's like, doesn't know what to do. And for some people it will make you put on weight. In a high fat diet, you'll never be able to lose any of it and you will blow up like a balloon. But for a lot of people, it will make you really, really skinny. But then, like you've heard, after you're done with these low carbohydrate diets and you start eating carbs again, you blow up. Because your body is trying to like get back all of that weight and nutrients that it just stripped itself of through this state of shock and confusion, and it really didn't know what was going on. So that's why people are so fearful of carbs, because when they do, the low carbohydrate diets do work, and when they do start eating carbs again, they blow up. So what you got to do is stick to the high carb diets, the plant food, let your weight regulate, let it be balanced, be your perfect fit, lean, healthy self. And then if you binge a little bit on fats, you're not going to blow up like as if you were on your low carb diet and you ate a little bit of carbs and your body blew up because it finally got something that it needed. No, no, no. You'll be balanced, your body will be healthy, and it'll be able to handle anything that you give it. So that's how the low carb diet helped me lose weight, but it's not something I recommend to anybody. High carb all the way for the win, for a healthy body, for lean physique, all of it. Thanks for watching. Bye. Valerie, come on.